Another quick tie. Your next fly starts here.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another quick tie. My name is Tim Hepworth here with Fly Fishing Bover Outfitters and Thursday Night Live Fly Tying. Tonight we're tying up this awesome little nymph called the Chai T Nymph. Euro style nymph. We're going to be tying this up on a jig hook. So a hook riding up, super cool little pattern, very simple. I have no doubts you'll be able to get through this fly without any problems at all. I want to give a quick thank you to Western Canada Fly Fishing Guide School for sponsoring this quick tie for you tonight. You can see our dates below for this spring's class. If you have any interest in that, reach out to us and we would be happy to give you some more information on it. I'm going to be tying this evening out of my Season 7 kit, and if you don't already have one of these bad boys, you can head over to our website and grab one for yourself. They're still available on our website. This is what I'm going to be tying out of, and I'm going to be tying out of episode 6. So you're going to want to go ahead and grab that if you're also tying out of your Season 7 kit. As well, if you aren't and you're tying out of our individual kits, materials are going to look the same, just a little different packaging. And if you don't have any of our kits at all, that's totally fine. Head over to our website and you will find the full fly recipe for this fly and all the others from this season. And just grab some of your own materials if you have them, and we'll get you through this fly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Drop a comment. Let us know how this fly goes for you, or how you found us, or if this is your first time popping in to watch us tie. All right, let's head over to the vise and see what we're working on this evening. This is the Chai T Nymph. Very, very simple. Only a couple materials in this one. We have some polar chenille and we have some bronze crystal flash. I am going to put a little bit of a hotspot collar on with thread, and besides that, that is all you have on this fly. So if you haven't worked with these jig style hooks before, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the beads themselves, how we're going to get them on the hook, because it is a little bit different looking than a normal hook and bead would look. So first off, you notice that there is a major turn down. Sorry, I'm just trying to grab another one of these hooks here. In the hook itself. Okay, so we have a down turned eye at an angle. And then when we go over to our beads look a little different as well. They've got a slot in them so that it can sit properly. So on this side, you can see there's a big slot. And on this side is very similar to a normal bead. If I can get it to show you here, there's just a small hole on this side here, right there, if I can show it to you. So when you're going to place your hook on one of these, you're going to simply put the point of the hook through the smallest of the holes on the bead. And that is how we're going to get this rocking onto the hook itself. You might notice and think that it's the wrong size bead because it kind of gets stuck and it won't keep going on. Just rotate the bead. It's going to find that bigger groove and it should slide right over the bend without any problems at all. And then once it gets into this position, I'll show you how we want it to sit. So I'm going to pop this one out of the vise. Let's go ahead and get this hook and bead in the vise. Okay, so if the bead's sitting like this isn't quite right. I shouldn't be able to see as much of the eye as I can. I simply need to take and rotate it so that the slot that's on the bead allows it to sit back further, like so. So that's what's giving weight. So imagine this fly is actually going to be riding in the opposite direction. So I have more weight on one side of the hook shank than the other. So when I tie this in, I want it to sit like that so that it has more weight on the bottom. It's going to flip that fly upside down. And the top, or what's riding up, is actually going to be the hook on this little nymph. Okay? All right, let's start off. I'm going to go ahead and grab some UTC 70 in black is what I'm going to tie this with. And then I'll add the collar at the end. Once I get my bead oriented the way I want it to, I want to start by sliding my thread right against these. So you see how it kind of props it up like that? And I'm going to start taking my thread wraps right there, just creating a little bit of a dam to hold that bead in that position before I start moving my thread wraps forward. And that's kind of the best way. You also could drop some resin in there, and that would also help you keep that bead in the position you want it. I'll come in here and trim out my tag end, get that out of the way. Just gonna change the angle on that hook just a little bit. That's better. Now, we don't have a lot of materials on this fly. We're simply tying with some bronze crystal flash as well as this polar chenille. So first thing I want you to do is go grab a piece of your flash. I want you to cut off about 4 inches of it. So you just have about a 4-inch strand in your hand. Then I simply want you to double that over. So match up the tips. Once you got the tips, you're gonna have that little loop at the bottom. I want you to come down here and cut out that loop. So now I'm essentially holding 2 different pieces. And when I tie this in up here, I'm gonna tie it in just behind the bead. And I want to fold this in half around my thread. So I have the midway point on those pieces of flash. And I'm just gonna bring it right up like this. And you can see I have control by sliding my thread down. I'll get this right on top of the hook shank. take a couple wraps to start, and then I'm gonna lean it rearward, holding it right up on top of the hook shank, and I'm taking thread wraps while pulling tension up to make sure that it stays right up on top of the hook shank. And I don't wanna take this down over the bend. I wanna leave it so that it's the flash is gonna stay off the rear end of the fly. And you notice on this fly as well, we do not have a barb on it, so it is a barbless hook, which is a little bit more gentle on the fish, especially if you have forgotten to pinch down your barb. So once I have that there, I'm gonna take maybe one more wrap, two more wraps, just to make sure it's sitting straight off the back. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this flash right away. So I want this tail to roughly be a hook shank in length out the back, but I like it to sit more that 3/4 length of the hook shank, so I'm not gonna do the full length of the hook shank. I'm gonna come just a little shy of that, somewhere in here, and trim it out. So when you trim this style of flash, it's always gonna rebound or come a little bit closer to the fly just because you've pulled some tension on it. So take that into account when you make those cuts. Now I'm gonna come over to my polar flash material. This stuff is really cool. It's a bunch of little fibers held together on this rope that's in the middle. And this is gonna build up the whole body of the fly. So I want you to come in here. I'm gonna grab about maybe half of this long strand just so it's a little easier to work with still, and I'll trim that, and then I'll tie it in from one end. So when you look at this stuff, it has that rope that's in the middle, and that rope is really where the strength of this comes. So when I tie this in, I wanna make sure that I'm tying in specifically the rope, not just the little pieces of material, so that I have a good bind to it. I'm gonna tie this in here at the rear of the fly. I'm not too worried about creating an uneven underbody, but if it's a little uneven, just take a few thread wraps forward, even out that underbody. But there's not a ton of bulk in this material to cause that problem. And then once I get up here to the bead again, I'm simply gonna go throw a half hitch in, just a little overhand knot over the hook shank, and I can set my my thread out of the way. It's a little easier to work with. Now, as I start wrapping this forward, I'm just gonna palmer it all the way up to behind the bead. I wanna do touching wraps. In theory, I would almost be covering up every bit of black thread. It's never gonna be perfect that way, but you do your best. And I wanna stroke those fibers rearward each time I wrap. So when I come around, you gotta work around that hook point to start. I'm gonna grab the fibers, pull them rearward on every wrap. And it's a little bit tedious because you wanna do nice close touching wraps all the way back each and every time, pulling that flashy material rearward, and just keep going forward. We're gonna take this all the way to just behind the bead, trying not to trap any of those little fibers down because we want all those to be involved in this fly, and that's what gives it quite a bit of movement as well as that flash. There's obviously so many different colors we could be tying this in. You have a huge variety of materials in this category that would work for this. But this is a good one, I think, for what we've chosen for this fly. Now, once I get up right behind the bead, I don't need to do like a ramp up against the bead with this material. I will do some of that work with thread wraps. But I'm gonna come, remember, securing our material, we wanna take a thread wrap behind the material and in front, and repeat one more time. Get that locked down. And once I have that locked down, I can trim out the tag end of that material. Don't wanna cut your thread at this point. And just make sure that's good and secure, and it's not gonna go anywhere. Good. Now, once I have it like this, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna trim out my thread after I do just a quick little knot. I can whip finish. I'm gonna do a whip finish on this one. I'm gonna bring in a different color thread because I do wanna put a little hotspot on this, and hotspots are an attractor thing for fish. So you can go any color you want that's a little brighter. Sometimes you like to do like a fluorescent green or orange or pink or red. Tonight I'm gonna do it in pink. So I'm gonna grab my pink thread and I'm just gonna come in here and make a little collar. The only reason I didn't use the pink for the whole fly is I just didn't want any of that pink to shine through underneath that material. Like you can see little bits of black, but it just really melds into the fly and you can't even really tell it's there. So I'm gonna come in here with my hotspot color. I'm just gonna, again, like I did with my material, I'm gonna do a thread wrap behind and in front of that tag end, and that just makes sure that that's not gonna come out on me. I'm gonna sweep all that material back. I'm gonna do just a little bit of thread wraps here to create that hotspot, kind of creating that little dam up against the bead. And I'm gonna come in here and whip finish this fly again with the pink this time. 2 or 3 turn, whip finish is fine. We are gonna be adding some resin to this anyways. Once I got that complete, I can come in and trim out my tag end of my thread. Now, before I do anything else, I'm gonna hold all this stuff back out of the way, and I'm gonna put some resin on here. I'm gonna use some of my Solarez Bone Dry. You guys probably hear me talk about it a lot, but I really love this product. It's a very, very thin product, and it soaks into thread and material really well. I'm just gonna do a quick little dab on the back of the bead. It also kind of will fill in that little slot at the back of the bead as well, and really help it to not spin or move on the hook shank itself. I'm gonna come in and cure it. Cure all the way around, like so. And then what I would like to do is, I don't wanna leave these fibers, that chenille quite that long. So I'm gonna grab them all, trying not to grab any of the crystal flash at the back. And I'm just gonna push them up vertical with my fingers. And now I'm just gonna trim them off about halfway in length. Trim them down, and when I release them, I'm gonna let them fold back around the hook. And if I have any really long ones sticking out anywhere, I just go around and do a quick trim on them. Just be careful not to trim your flash at the back of the fly. That's the only piece we don't want to do. And now the rest of these, as they move in the water, this is all gonna taper towards the back end, but it's gonna give lots of flash and sparkle and all the things we wanna see out of that material. Just like that. So that's the resin, that's our hotspot. We've got our full Chai T Nymph complete. Definitely try this in different colors. Go with olive, go with black, try some different variations, purple, you know, anything. This fly is an effective pattern. It was actually created locally here, but one of the tyers out of Calgary named Will Spokes. Great pattern. Love to see some of the local guys here come up with some great patterns. All right, guys, again, my name is Tim Hepworth here with Fly Fishing Bow Over Outfitters and Thursday Night Live Fly Tying. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Excuse me, drop a comment in here. Let us know how this fly went for you. And hopefully it turned out something like that. Don't forget to go over and grab a Season 7's kit. If you don't already have one, they are still available on our website. All right, till next week, guys, we'll bring you another fly.